All right, the time is now 12 Eastern. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jesse McNulty. I'm an account manager here at LPA. With me, I have Vidur Bali, who is one of our solution architects. He's also a Cognos Express expert and evangelist. Vidur will walk us through Cognos Express and answer any questions that come up in today's webinar. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please send them through the chat window or Q&A windows. We'll answer all questions at the end of the presentation. For those of you who already own Cognos and are joining us today, we're going to demonstrate the latest version of Cognos, which is Express 10.2.1. This was released in September. If you would like a specific listing of some of the new capabilities in this release, shoot us an email after the webinar. We'll be happy to provide you those details. Okay, I want to quickly introduce LPA before we jump into the presentation. LPA is a Cognos implementation partner. We've been a Cognos partner for over 10 years. We have offices in Rochester, New York, as well as presences in Dallas, Houston, with consultants throughout the United States. We've performed hundreds of successful IBM Cognos implementations in enterprise and mid-market accounts. We are an IBM Premier Business Partner, which is the highest accreditation for business analytics. This primarily includes the names Cognos, which you may have heard of or may not have heard of before today, but also SPSS, which is IBM's predictive analytics tool set. This year, LPA won an IBM Beacon Award Finalist Award for our healthcare analytics solution. So if you're a healthcare organization, we actually have some pre-canned solution for you. So, feel free to circle back after the webinar. We'd be happy to provide you more information. We're also the #1 reseller for Cognos Express. So you've come to the right place to learn about Express. We offer business analytics consulting. All of our consultants are IBM certified. Most consultants have been working with Cognos for 10 plus years. So most of our folks are very senior. We offer training and enablement services to help ensure, our customers are empowered to leverage Cognos. We also offer turnkey implementation services with a focus on empowering your team so that when we're done with implementation, your team owns that solution and can build it up from there. So we're your partner in implementing Cognos Express. In today's webinar, Vidur and I are going to briefly introduce the concept of business analytics and why it is so important. We'll then provide an overview of Cognos Express, and then we'll have a demo. That demo is going to be about 40 minutes long. We'll then recap and answer any questions you may have. And once again, throughout the webinar, if you have questions, please ask them via the chat window or Q&A window. Okay, we're going to get started. We don't have a lot of time, but I briefly want to introduce the concept of business analytics. The reason we monitor performance is so that we can all achieve better business outcomes. The key to better business outcomes is making smarter decisions. In order to make smarter decisions, we need to find those insights, those key nuggets of data that allow us to take action that's going to lead to those smarter decisions, that's going to lead to better business outcomes. Business analytics and performance management is about trying to find those insights. There's key questions we need to be able to answer across our organization in one consistent fashion. The first is, how are we doing? So your performance management system needs to be able to tell you, are we on track? The next logical question is why. You need the ability to go drill into that, to go find those insights that indicate why performance is better or worse than what you expected. The last question that you need to be able to answer is, what should we be doing? So this gets to forecasting, planning and budgeting, and predictive analytics. IBM's business analytics provides capabilities across this spectrum. So there's predictive analytics capabilities with SPSS. There's what-if analysis and scenario analysis capabilities. We're going to show us some examples of that with Cognos Express in a little while. IBM Express is a proven platform to help answer all of these questions. It's trusted to ensure that when someone in HR is looking at a piece of data, it's the same information that the person in sales sees. Cognos Express was designed with three core attributes. That it'd be easy to install, easy to use, and easy to buy. And they're actually designed to address the key inhibitors that have prevented work groups and mid-sized organizations from adopting BI and planning. So first, it's easy to install. IBM Cognos Express is pre-configured. It includes everything you need out of the box with embedded OLAP, security, content store, web server, and data integration. It also integrates directly with your Active Directory. There's a central web-based console for the installation, configuration, and deployment. There are no hidden costs requiring additional software. It installs easily into your existing infrastructure. It addresses the key challenges of limited infrastructure and resources. Cognos Express is easy to use. Delivering self-service to enable business users to be self-sufficient is key in where resource constraints are major inhibitors. And IBM Cognos Express provides interfaces that ensure novice to advanced users can get the business information they need. Another key aspect is giving the power and ownership to the business so they can build the business use they need to analyze and optimize the business. So Cognos Express provides the right interface for the right user and also delivers the data in a business context they understand, as well as simple capabilities to build their own business use, reducing the burden on IT. Lastly, with resource and budget constraints, the pricing and packaging has to enable the organization to get started quickly and deliver immediate business value. With Cognos Express, you can buy what you need when you need it to deliver business value quickly and with a low entry price point so organizations can match their project needs to their budget constraints. This really is a low-risk option, allowing you to start small, start anywhere, but with the confidence that there is room to grow as your needs evolve. Cognos Express includes two core modules: reporting, where ad hoc querying and reporting occurs, and planning, which handles your planning, budgeting, forecasting, and scorecarding. Okay. I'm now going to dive into these two modules, but before I do, I want to briefly talk about some of the successes customers have had with Cognos Express. Since its release 3 years ago, there are over 2,500 Cognos Express customers. Visit the Voice of the Customer page to learn more about customer successes with the platform. On that page, you'll see case studies and video testimonials from a large number of customers coming from different industries and lines of businesses. They have graciously shared the kinds of problems they face, the kind of solutions Cognos Express provided, and they have quantified the benefits that were delivered by the solutions. I'll share a link to this page after the webinar. All right, now the Cognos Express reporting module, which is primarily what our demo today is going to also focus on. So this is the self-service reporting and ad hoc query engine that's the core of Cognos Express. It provides access to all the data in your environment. Data sources include things like OLAP, so existing cubes, desktop files, Excel, CSV, things like that. Relational databases, those are the most common data sources our customers tie Cognos Express to. It enables you to deliver self-service visualization and reporting for faster decision-making. There's no need to wait for IT to complete a request for a report. The business is empowered to go create their own reports. So once your team connects Cognos Express to your different data sources, the business then has the ability to go create these reports, share them with others. This leads well into the next point. Cognos Express ensures there's one single version of the truth seen across your organization. So if multiple people are reporting off that one data source, right, you rest assured it's going to be consistent data across those different reports as a result. Cognos Express enables decision-making on mobile devices regardless of your location. So there's currently native applications for Android, iPad apps, so you can actually have reports delivered to those devices overnight the next day. You know, people in the field can actually use their iPads connected or not with their reports already delivered. So you can support disconnected use cases. So write a report once and receive it in many output formats, right? So there's no need to write a report, you know, to different output specs. So if you want a PDF report, Excel report, HTML report, etc., you know, it's simply a save as option. So you have those capabilities. Write a report once and export in any one of those formats. There's hundreds of native charts, advanced visualization, so that the charts, you know, are basically your Excel list of charts that are available. You're going to have available in Cognos and then some. Advanced visualizations, there's some on the slide here that we see that include network analysis charts, tree charts. So there's examples right here. We'll also include a link to IBM Analytics Zone that has a full listing of some of these advanced visualizations that you can leverage. There's also geographic map capabilities that come out of the box. So these are, if you want to show, you know, a report where you have, for example, New York State, and you have different counties, you want a color code based on some business metric, you know, red, yellow, green type status, or other heat map, you could do it at the county down to zip code level, you know, with Cognos Express out of box. Cognos Express Planning is your automated planning and budgeting and forecasting solution. This very commonly replaces Excel-driven processes. So if your organization today is using Excel to, for example, collect, you know, an annual budget cycle, so if you're sending out spreadsheets to different budget center managers, having them add data to those spreadsheets, and then manually attempting to consolidate it, you know, that use case is something that Cognos Express Planning replaces. So essentially, you can still have users still in Excel, but when they're typing values in, that data is being written right back into Cognos Express and made available to everyone else. You can have the data consolidated instantly. You know, business rules enforce that, you know, so that you don't have manual processes and manual steps where you're doing things like reconciliation. So you can greatly make your Excel-driven planning process much more efficient, faster for your business to complete, and more accurate and reduce risk. It also supports what-if scenario planning. So when you want to do that what-if scenario on whether or not you're going to invest, you know, in a new product and how that may impact your business, you can model that in Excel. In PM1 while you're in Excel without impacting other users. So you can use this for this what-if scenario planning, very powerful. There's full audit, traceability, and backup capabilities. So you can see who changed what cell. You don't have to worry anymore about what version of the budget, you know, is the current accurate one, or who entered what values, right? That's all going to be recorded. You know, ultimately, you're going to be able to drive business growth with your accurate plans, budget, and forecasts. We're going to enable users to react quickly to changing conditions with scenario modeling and workflows. And you're going to reduce risk and save time with automated financial reporting. All right, my last slide before I turn over to the journal, you know, is when it comes to approach, think big and start small. So think big means to have a vision for an information-driven business culture that ties insight to action in all areas of the company, from sales, to marketing, to finance, operations, etc. By linking the insights gained through business intelligence and planning processes, you can start to build a new intelligence that fuels business optimization and drives growth. This process does not have to be overwhelming. You can take a modular and incremental approach. Simply start small with the capabilities you need now and grow your BI and planning solution over time to meet your goals. IBM Cognos Express gives your organization competitive advantage by providing powerful performance management capabilities specifically built and priced to enable you to start small, realize immediate benefits, and grow over time with your organization. By starting small and delivering immediate value, you can size a project to your budget, realize benefits quickly, and greatly reduce overall risk. Okay, so now I'm going to turn over to Badur for the demo. Badur is going to start by taking us through a desktop data exploration use case with Cognos. So this is going to be in the context of a user who's got some local files and wants to pull it together and analyze that information right on their desktop. From there, Badur is going to take us to a reporting and business intelligence use case. And this is going to be a sales performance management dashboard. And then we're going to walk through a planning and budgeting use case. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Badur. All right, Badur.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Cognos Express webinar. Over the next 40 minutes, I'm going to give you an overview of the IBM Cognos Express 10-to-1 product suite. As Jesse showed earlier, the IBM Cognos Express really has two stacks, if you will, one for reporting and the other for planning, budgeting, forecasting, and scorecarding. We're going to start out today by looking at the reporting stack, and primarily by looking at the Insight desktop solution that you are now seeing on your screen. This is a personal data exploration and planning tool, and it's a great place for analysts looking to access data, or rather looking to access local data without the need for any IT intervention. So on a typical day, an analyst would take an Excel file, open it, create some pivot tables, and then try and decipher, if there are any trends or, what those trends could be. What we're going to do is I'm going to quickly show you what I'm going to put into this studio here. So I have some sales data in Excel, and it's basically got some time components to it, and it's got the revenue and cost as metrics that we're going to look at in a second here. So let me quickly X out of that. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that into my Dropbox area or my workspace area, leave it, and Cognos is now starting to crunch the numbers, okay? And what it is doing is the real value here is that Cognos is taking that data and making it dimensional, okay? As I stated before, the goal here for us is to find trends and really ask questions of the data and then get information and then basically make decisions on data points that are really meaningful. Okay, and the strength of this tool here then is by presenting this data in a dimensional structure, as you can see, right? Or you have weeks, you have product type, you have territories. You get that level of hierarchy. So, for example, things like year, quarter, month, day, where you can go down a level. Territory, country, state, city. Again, just a path that you can keep going down. And then maybe product line, product type, and then the product SKUs is another hierarchy that could be leveraged here. So Cognos takes all that information and builds those hierarchies out for you. Okay. So I'm going to start here by trying to find a trend from the data set that we have for the year 2011. Okay, and what I'm going to do is some house cleaning work. I'm going to get rid of the count calculation that Cognos sort of added in there. Just going to hide it. And then I am going to swap my rows and columns because I like my revenue and cost to be row-based, and I like to see my timeline as columns. So, okay. And as soon as I do this, it looks like Q1 was off to a start. Good or not, we can't really compare until we look at Q2, where we see we did better. Q3 was exceptionally good. Then Q4, it has now started to go down. And the goal here is to figure out why that may be happening, or what product is that happening for. So the way I'm going to do that is I am now going to break out my data set by the month. So I'm just going to take the total of months and put it right over total of quarter and leave it. And now I have my breakup of revenue and cost by my month. And you can see it took off just like the quarter data suggested, which is what it should be. And then November is November is where it started to go a little haywire, and then December is looking progressively worse. And what we could do then really to focus in on December is filter this contextually just to Q4. Okay, so you notice it blacked out or completely blanked out the other months because we filtered it to Q4. And what I'm going to do in order to get rid of the blank columns, because we don't need to see them, is I'm just going to suppress them. Okay, so very clearly I can now tell that my revenues were lower, my costs are higher, and it's really that cost that is driving my profits to be lower. And then as a next question, I'm probably going to wonder, okay, what product is actually causing this, right? So now that I've figured out my cost is higher, what product is this cost really referring to? So I'm going to take that product type and then replace that by the month. And when it comes back, you'll notice revenues versus cost, and clearly the cost of computers and tablets is a lot higher than the others here. In fact, the costs are a lot lower. You're making money more or less, but the cost over the computers and tablets, especially in Q4, seems to be a lot higher. So very quickly then, in just a few minutes or less, what we've done is we've taken local data, right, and looked at some profit trends to determine which product is causing the product to decrease in revenue here. So if we start to look at what the tool can really do for us, my next step really should be to figure out, okay, how large is that margin? So I'm going to select revenue, control select that, and cost. Go up to my calculation button, and then run a simple revenue minus cost. As you can see, there's other options there as well. I'm just going to run the revenue minus cost for a second and call this my margin. Okay, and instantly you realize that computers and tablets clearly are the ones that are the worst. So something that needs to be fixed there. And just to give you another example of some quick comparisons that you can do without having to write code or knowing how to write code, we'll do the same thing again with revenue and cost. But this time, instead of doing a calculation, I'm just going to do a compare revenue versus my cost just to see what that looks like. Okay. And as you can tell, when I do that, I'm just going to call this my comparison first. Right? As soon as I do that, computers and tablets clearly are gone red, and Cognos has this pre-built, so you don't have to go ahead and define your percentages. I mean, you could if you want to, but here, this is a really neat way of Cognos just picking it up, understanding what the numbers are, and then depending on how large the percentage is between the revenue and the cost, assigning it a red indicator versus something that's green. This information then can be resized and reshaped, and what I mean by that is we were working in one of several widgets that we could have actually had. So I'm going to minimize or restore this widget to make it slightly smaller. Right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Explorer pane here. So let's maximize that and bring over the Explorer pane. And the Explorer pane actually tells you the data sheets that you have brought in. So in this case, I actually brought in the sales region, and that's what it's been crunching. Okay, and let's just make that slightly bigger. So it starts to fit. There you go. All right, and then what I could do is bring in additional filters if I wanted to filter my reports. For example, if I brought in my sales region measures, right, I could then either select which one I wanted to see, and this is really acting like a filter. I could do the same thing with quarter. I could bring quarter in, leave it, and now actually I have two context filters. Okay. Furthermore, if I wanted to explore and really get additional filters for every dimension that I had, all I would need to do is come to the Explore point and then say View Explore Pane. And you will then find it's actually got every dimension where I can then go through this and actually filter and figure out if I have additional things to look at. For example, here I could actually pick entertainment values and branded stores. Oops, that doesn't have data features for. But clearly, you are now not only just taking a data sheet and doing analysis on it, but you're building something that others could perhaps use and derive more insights from. What we've done here really is taken a data sheet and identified very quickly a decline in margins without needing to program or needing a developer to write some programs for us that would tell us this. Okay, and essentially we just went from data or raw data to real insight within the desktop solution without the need for IT intervention. Okay, and so instead of showing you every feature in here, I want to show you the potential of this studio here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a sales performance handbook here very quickly and show you a fully fleshed out report that has been written by just an analyst really with all the tools that this has to offer. And so there's an overview page, and you can either tab through it at the bottom, or you can click on the Show Me More, and it will take you to the data points that you are really wanting to see. So let's just take a look at how this is put together. So if I look at some sales results or product profitability, very quickly, I'm looking at my KPI distribution. This is, again, all coming from a feed, right? It could be an Excel source, a CSV, maybe this data sitting in PowerPoint somewhere, but it can all be pulled together and used for analysis. Okay, just tap through and look at the sales pipeline. Just to give an example of the power of this tool, the sales rep performance, and then finally customer returns. Okay, so an extremely powerful solution for analysts that and for companies really that want to start small and then grow from there. The fun doesn't stop here. We talked about this being a desktop solution. At the end of the day, BI really comes to the forefront when you can collaborate with others and derive insights from others as well, not just yourself. And so when it's all said and done, you can in fact take your insight report here and publish it to the server, right? And what that's going to do for you is going to allow you to share your information with others, and they could do a level of a similar analysis or maybe a completely different calculation that you were not even thinking about, right? So I can click publish and distribute, and then let's just put the name of the server here that I want to publish to. Right, and then if I were to put in my user ID and password here, so if I were to put in my credentials, I'm logged in as the Cognos Express admin here and click Finish, this would then publish my Cognos Insight workspace out to the portal where others could then do similar analysis, download it, and republish, or we could make this part of a TM1 application as well for analysis. Okay. Next, we're going to look at the reporting side. We're going to look at the IBM Cognos Connection portal as well as the Cognos Workspace, where dashboards are put together and shared with other users. So the Cognos Connection portal looks like this. When you log in, this is what we tend to call the welcome page. And the welcome page basically gives you a list of all the studios that you have access to, as well as gives you a running feed of everything that's been going on the server. And because I'm an admin, I see news that is relevant to me. Okay. So if I click under the public folders or the home button, what happens is it takes me to the public folders tab up here. Okay, here is where all your standardized reports that get sent out on a weekly, monthly, or daily basis are actually stored. So you could put reports in your folders, and there's actually, if some of you are wondering what is the difference between this, what looks almost like a wrapped package, if you will, and the yellow folder on top. Well, what looks like a package actually in Cognos is called a package, And basically that package contains the metadata that sort of has the relationships defined between tables. So when you're building a report and you pull product and you pull revenue and they're coming from two separate tables, that has already been written in Cognos, and so you don't have to worry about writing code. You just need to know where to pull your data from, and then Cognos automatically joins that for you behind the scenes. Okay. So if you want to take a look at this directory structure, you have folders within folders. And then you can actually, within folders, store reports if you want to and run these. And so the structure basically is, there's infinite possibilities with the structure. We would say don't do it more than 2 or 3 levels deep, because then users really tend to get lost. And so, the higher, the lesser the levels that they have to drill down, the better, because it's time consuming after a little while. So what I would like to do next is show you a dashboard, but before that, what I want to also cover is every user within the Cognos portal also gets something called their little My Folders tab here. And this is really neat because what this allows users to do is build their own reports. And if they don't want to share them, they can actually, maybe it's something that they haven't really fleshed out yet. This is sort of that space that there's their own space. It's like equivalent of their My Documents on Windows, where you can save your own work. And then when it's ready for prime time, you can move it over and save it under the public folders realm. If some of you are out there are admins, I'm sure you're wondering, what about security? And security can actually be applied at the highest level all the way down to a particular report, if you will. So if I just browse down to a report object, so this is the lowest level in here, these are all my reports. I could either set it at a report level, right? Or I could set it at the highest level, and basically once I do that, every folder underneath it will inherit that property. So the security scheme is really flexible and gives admins plenty of ways to actually implement a security model whenever they decide to do that. So let's look at this executive sales and profitability analytics. The dashboard that's set up for the executives, and it's got some sales and profitability information in it. So we're just going to click and to view it, just simply click it, and that will actually launch the dashboard. So let's look at some of the features that this dashboard actually has. So we're looking at some trending here by territory, right? So clearly Europe's sort of going downwards, North America is going up, Asia Pacific's going up, and then South America is pretty stable throughout, went down by a little bit, and then is sort of trending downwards again. And again, we're with the case of BI today, the words really the word is really being able to make the dashboard dynamic. If this is all this dashboard did, I think we've failed in our jobs as BI architects, because any other level of information would mean making a phone call and asking someone else to put that information together. And the goal really with this workspace is to give the executives most of their data at their fingertips, and we do that by using that multidimensional structure that I talked about before. So if you think about, a simple hierarchy like country, state, and city, if you wanted to build 3 reports, one for country, one for state, one for city, there would be 3 separate reports that you'd actually be building, right? One for each one of them. When you build a structure that's multidimensional and has a hierarchy, it's one report, and all you're doing is clicking in and going down a level to view the data at that next level, right? So similarly here, we're in the territory we're in the territory, and that's sort of the highest level. But we can break this down and go down into the countries that make up these territories. So for example, if I wanted to see how the individual countries within Europe are doing, I simply click on Europe, and it's going to drill down and then give me the countries that make up the numbers for Europe. So now I'm looking at France, Germany, Ireland, Scotland, and I have a scroll bar actually that's telling me there's actually more data below here. As you can tell, I have some conditional formatting going on margin. It seems like anything 20% or higher is green, and anything less than that is neutral. And so if we look at the numbers here within this widget and scroll across, it's pretty much telling you what's doing really well and then if it's anything less, as far as at least the margins go, you're not making them red, although you certainly could. Okay. Some pet peeves that people are always worried about, you build a dashboard, people don't agree with the colors, simple things like that, and maybe even people not agreeing with the visualizations, right? And so with the dashboard that Cognos Express has, you could actually change the colors yourself. So, all of these colors are lovely. Some might disagree. Maybe they like the dynamic palette. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply it across both these just to be consistent, right? You might say this revenue trend line is great, but maybe you want that to be a bar chart too. And so and so what we're going to do is we're going to change our display type, and then you can actually pick maybe stacked column chart is what you want to go with to show that. Oops. Let's try that one more time, and there you go. That's a lot better. And so what I'm going to do is, if you don't like it, let's just hit the undo and take it back to the trend line that it was. And so now it's back to being a trend line. So you definitely have the power as a user to really take these dashboards and make them your own, but also explore, right? The point is, if they're not dynamic and don't like to do that next level or look at that next level of information, then it's really not good, because you're putting a tremendous amount of stress then on your IT resources. Okay. If you think of a typical organization, they typically have, dashboards that are summary level information, followed by, day-to-day, weekly, monthly, quarterly, maybe some annual reports that are a lot more detailed. And so we've given the users that additional content here in this pane. So if I wanted to see just an invoice statement, then this is giving an example of the kinds of reports we can run. Simply click on it. It's going to launch a new window and bring back to me an invoice that we've actually put together. This has been pre-run, and that's why it just popped right out. This is in Adobe, and let's just look at the two-page invoice that we have. And so, a detailed report, but highly structured, right, with several sections, but, really cool looking, and that's just the power of, the tools that are at your disposal with Express and the kinds of things they can do. Okay, so let's X out of here and go back to our dashboard. And one of the things that I want to show you here also is, not all the metrics that you're looking at are the ones that you need on a daily basis. Most organizations have far too many metrics. And although, the 4 or 5 are the key ones, there's always 1 or 2 that, depending on the fire that is that day, you might want to look at. So in this particular case, I have revenue, variance, cost, margin, and maybe I want to look at my orders shipped. And with every one of these widgets, what you can do is you can actually set up what's called the Do More button. Now, all these widgets actually have that. I'm actually going to expand on it. And what it is going to allow me to do is open up and allow me to add content from my structure here. So I know this is from my sales profit analysis folder. And what I'm going to do is expand that, look at the metrics, and then pick my discount dollars and the units that were shipped. So I simply take my discount dollars, apply that at the bottom, and I take my units shipped and apply that at the bottom here. And once I'm done with that, simply click the Done button, and it's going to go down and restore itself to, the dashboard with the metrics, mind you, that I've actually selected. So if I scroll down here, I actually can see my discount dollars as well as the number of units that I shipped to those countries in the given month. Okay. Now let's say for a second you then wanted to go back and look at this consolidated, right? Absolutely. Let's right click on that same column that we picked for territories, and this time instead of clicking drill down, we'll actually select drill up, and we're going to go back to that higher level that there was before, which is by territory. But you'll notice my discount and my units shipped have now gone higher, because now we're sort of consolidating and showing that at the territory level, which is a lot higher. Okay. A few other things that we can do. The one report that we ran was actually just a static report. Notice it doesn't have that play button next to it. We're actually going to run a prompted sales report, and I wanted to show you this because this is just another way of running reports that are more detailed, but you get to select what you want to run it for. Okay. So as soon as I click my sales report, I get this prompt page, and I can actually select revenue. Let me just go after calendar all. And then you'll notice the product type is populated here, but there is no products, and that's because it's called a cascade prompt. What it's waiting for is for me to select my first value, and it's going to pre-populate my products based on that first value that was selected. I'm just going to pre-select all of these, and then I'm going to select just all regions and hit finish. It's going to run with values that I selected, and then come back with a consolidated detailed report with all the values that I have for that particular product, in this case being computers and tablets. So we can actually see for all my regions that I selected, it's gotten the computers and tablets and then the products within them, and then it's basically showing the breakdown of my revenue by my channels, and really that those channels being direct over the internet and in the retail sector. Okay. So just another way, and then if you wanted to, you could then do this in PDF, or if you wanted to take it into Excel, you can certainly take it into Excel as well. So the report runs in one format, but you can always translate that into another format or run it to another format that you want to. Okay. So let's X out of there, go back to our dashboard. And last but not the least, I mean, you have these filters on here, right? I mean, I could easily basically select Europe, and then it's going to be filtered by Europe, so that's pretty straightforward. But what I want to show you here is the power does not stop by just us adding to these widgets or changing these widgets. You can actually add newer widgets that contain different data sets. For example, in this case, I'm just going to expand my content pane, go down to my public folders, and look at my pipeline performance and health. And when I expand that report, I actually have sitting in that additional widgets, if you will, that have already been cleaned in nicely, so I know what I'm pulling in. And just to show you the additional data and how easy it is to put this thing together, I'm going to pull in two. Let me just pull in the pipeline this quarter versus last, and we'll put it down here. Okay. And it's going to run real time, and then come back with the data. And then I'm going to run my pipeline by sales organization. Okay, just line that up there. Just to show you what the pipeline is. Okay. And I could do this for any of these other reports if I wanted them more. I can just keep dragging and dropping widgets just to put out the fires. But I'm now helping myself and really empowering my analysts to get insights into the data. And it doesn't have to be what they started with. They can actually start here and customize it to meet their own needs. I want to point out to you that the filter up here is actually filtered between Q2 and Q4. And if I scroll down just to show you, the opportunity win-losses actually is focused already down to Q3 and Q4. So it's already filtered because when you bring it in, it checks to see what the filter criteria is that it is set to, and then it stays consistent, so the format is consistent with respect to all the other widgets that are out there. Okay. That ends our session on the workspace. I'm now going to go into what is called an active report and show you what that looks like, followed by the Office connectivity that Cognos has with the Microsoft Office. So what is this notion of an active report? An active report really is an offline report. It is completely disconnected from the Cognos servers. It is highly interactive and portable. Okay, so I have on my desktop here an active report visualization that I'm going to open up. This is something I downloaded. It is not connected to the Cognos server. And when I click it, it's going to open it up in IE. It's going to load the data, right? And it's going to allow me to play with the data sets that it has actually come with. So what we're looking at is a high-level summary, and this could be a scorecard for a company, where you're looking at your overall product line numbers, you're looking at your trends in revenue, you're looking at your overall target. So it starts out with a simple scorecard summary, but then if I wanted to, I can look at details behind each of these scorecard metrics. So if I were to click into performance rankings, for example, or in top 10, so this is giving me my top 10, but if I click into it, it's now giving me details behind, right, all my regions and what my revenue and expenses and margins are. I could control select them, and this is where it starts to become really cool. So if I only selected the Americas, it filtered it, and now it's telling me, how large my revenues are and really how large my margins are for each of these products. If I control select 2 countries now, the bubble sizes will keep going up. Okay, so it allows you not only to interact but also draw insights, and extremely, extremely powerful, right, with the visualizations that we've actually put together here. I could do the same thing with just tab in there and look at the performance analyses. So here we're looking at a product called camping equipment, where the expenses are at 48%, the overall profit's 83%, and then if you wanted to switch and look at what personal accessories we're bringing in, expenses are higher, revenues less, and profits less as well. So extremely powerful in from a visualization standpoint, but also a lot of data in a very small data set, right? I mean, if you think about this, and some of you I'm sure are wondering, why is there so much white space to the right of my screen? And that's simply because this was made for 1024 by 768 resolution, so it was really made for the iPad. And when you download it to your iPad through your email and you click on the attachment, it would actually want you to open it up automatically in the in your mobile application. It will actually give you that pop-up and say, open an IBM Cognos mobile application. Once you do that, it's just going to open it up and render, and then you can play with it just as you would here. Except each mouse click that I'm doing here would basically be driven by your index finger, right, on the iPad, of course. Okay. And so it's an extremely powerful mechanism that's really helps in enabling the mobile workforce, because you can just email these out, or you might want to be extending your BI to external customers or partners. And so this allows you to get data in their hands easily and without being connected to the Cognos server. Okay. If you were to think of this versus a PDF, each one of these tabs would translate to a page. And then within that page, right, you'd have several subsections, right? Each one of these would have to be a subsection. And here, it's all just configured neatly, all on one, on one sheet, if you will. Okay, so extremely, extremely powerful. All right, we're going to switch gears really quickly and show you Office, and then we're going to jump into the planning side of the webinar. So I'm going to open up a PowerPoint that I actually have that I've already built here, just to show you what the power of the tool is. When you do install IBM Cognos Office for Microsoft Office, what's going to happen is it's actually going to add a tab to your overall solution here. Okay. So once I log in, really I can basically browse through my public folders and download the widget that I want to. And just to show you what's really important here, so I've already gone ahead and downloaded a few portlets, and you'll notice they're very similar to the portlets that I had in the dashboard that I was showing you, at least the same look and feel. It's not exactly the same. And let me just walk you through this. So I have about 6 slides of portlets, and if I tab over my IBM Cognos for Microsoft Office, I'm really pulling this from 2 reports. I'm pulling this from the Executive Performance Analytics, and notice it jumped and told me what slide that was on. And if I do my TM1 scenario analysis, it's telling me where those widgets are coming from. So it's extremely powerful, and it's powerful not only in being able to download and present to your customers or to to the executives when you're having a meeting, but also to share. And it follows that same functionality where once you're done with this and you want to share it, and actually publish it back to the portal. And so what this will do is it will put it back into our public folders area for others to use or others to download. So the IBM Cognos Connection portal then absolutely does become that central location where all your content does get housed, whether it's an Insight desktop solution that you built and put up there, whether it's a dashboard. Of course, all your reporting is built and saved there, but active reports as well as anything that you're doing with Office can also then be stored within that portal. Okay, so that ends our BI side of the Cognos Express stack, and now we're going to look at the planning side of the Express stack over the next 10 or 15 minutes. Okay. So before we take a look at the planning side of the house here really quickly, I want to show you the Express admin page. A lot has been said. If you go to the forums, that they talk about Express being very easy to manage. And so, what does that really come down to? When you log in as an admin, this is your one-stop shop, essentially, that you're looking at. All the tools that you get from the server side are all down the left-hand side, and it actually tells you whether they're on or off. For example, my Express Manager is actually up and running. If I click into it, I could restart services, I could configure them. Planner, reporter, which are sort of the reporter being the BI, the reporting side of the house, and planner being the planning side of the house, actually get installed through this web page. So the install simply is to click a button, and then Cognos Express actually just does the rest. Okay. Some small businesses probably at times do not have an AD. They're pretty small shops. If they have it, that's great. If you don't and you need to create a user, you can actually do that and house it within Express itself. So security then becomes really easy to implement as well. Okay. What I'd like to then move on to and show you is the welcome page really quickly. If I click on the welcome page here, down where it says download Express software to my computer, this is where all the client tools are housed. And if I click on it, it allows users that are configured to do tasks like architect data or to use the Excel plugin to submit a budget to easily install their own tools. So, the overhead from a maintenance standpoint is really down to a minimum. So then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to launch my Planner application, okay, and click Launch, click Planner, and it's going to bring back and show me the applications I've already set up where planning can be done. Okay, I'd like to take a moment here to talk about, traditionally the budgeting process involves, department heads or, regional heads basically having their own Excel spreadsheet. They would add their budgets to these spreadsheets and then send them over to someone that would actually basically their life, would be consolidating all these Excel spreadsheets, right? Whether it's monthly, quarterly, or yearly. And so TM1, right? Especially the IBM Cognos TM1 truly is a consolidation application, and because it's in memory, it's that much faster. So your budgeting and forecasting, right? When you can involve a workflow with all of that, where you have your hierarchy set up such that when you log in, you only see your spreadsheet, whereas when your manager logs on, he sees everyone's spreadsheet that he has to approve. Makes the budgeting and planning piece of this really a cinch. Okay, so I'm going to show you an example of an existing workflow that I've already set up, and then we'll quickly try and take a look at how to put one together, just to show you how easy this is. Okay, so I have two. I have a metrics and I have a workflow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch my my workflow application here. So I'm just going to click on it, and when I click into it, you'll find I've got a certain cost, a few cost centers listed down here. And what it's doing is for each of my 8 cost centers that I have, it's actually telling me whether it was submitted, whether it's incomplete, whether someone actually updated it, and now it's just being, it just needs to be reviewed and approved. Okay. So for example, if you look at cost center 1 and cost center 3, it looks like, someone went in there, did what they had to, and has submitted it. And so if you notice, the state actually says locked. Overall, it's still incomplete because, these still need to be, some of the managers maybe are getting a little lazy or running a little behind, actually. And so I'm logged in as an admin, so I actually have full access to this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up one of these just to show you how easy it is to submit a budget. So let's just open up Cost Center 2. It's going to open this over the web application, and I'm going to take ownership of this this application then. Okay. Once I do that, now for my Cost Center 2, I have my 6 periods, and I can then go in and say, okay, I'm expecting this to be 1,000. Notice they all go blue, and that's just telling you that your overall numbers are going to get impacted because Cost Center 2 would actually roll up to the the overall budget rate. And let's just going to fill these in just to give you a quick, example. Maybe let's just say that's 147. So once I've actually done this, right, I could hit submit, and it's actually going to submit this up and lock me out, right? So that's the easiest thing I could perhaps do. One of the other things I could also do is try and create a sandbox, okay? So to do that, and the reason some of you might be asking, what's a sandbox? A sandbox basically would be something like, almost like a what if or a scenario planning analysis, right? So, yes, these are ideally what your expenses would be, but let's just say you might have 2 more heads that you're adding to your department, as an example. And, if you factor that and then you wanted to submit a sandbox, a different scenario up for approval, just to see if your manager would approve it, you can run those scenarios. So to do that, I'm simply going to click on Create Sandbox, give it a name, and then click OK. All right, and you notice it's now blanked these out completely. So let's just redo this in 5,000, and the next one I'm expecting 4,000. So just purposely going that much higher. So when you do this and you're doing scenario planning, now there is the default view, and if you switch to it, you'll notice your overall numbers are a lot lesser. But this allows you to plan different, different scenarios. It could be as simple as, if you're doing revenue planning and you're doing, 3% month over month, what happens if you get less than 3%? What does that do to your overhead? Or, you have a surplus, and so, how do you factor that in? So you can run several types of scenarios, and that's what makes this tool really, really powerful. What also adds to the the power of the tool is what we call the data spread, right? So if not only can you push data from the from the bottom up, maybe the manager at the very top wants to push data from the top to the bottom. Let's just say something where repairs, right, where you need building repairs as an example, and he just wants to, he's got a specific budget of 50,000 maybe, and he wants to do a spread of that across all his buildings. In proportion to maybe their overall budgets, you would basically use the data spread methodology to do that, and you could either do it proportionally, you could do it equal, you could just repeat that same number. So if you had 50,000 and you had 50 buildings, it would just simply put 1,000 into each one of their budgets from a maintenance standpoint. Okay. So once I'm done, and let's just go with the scenario planning here, I can then say commit this, right? So it's now committing to the overall number. So it's basically doing a consolidation essentially, and then I can say submit my expense. And if you notice, I went with scenario planning too. So if I X out of this now really quickly, right? So you'll find CC2 is reserved because I've taken ownership of it, so it's reserved for me. But now it's really waiting for approval, essentially, right? So if my manager approves it, then all's well. If not, then I have to go back and make entries or readjust the budget if required. Another feature that the workflow gives you, right, is this whole commentary, right? Let's say your budgets are higher. In this case, I actually almost triple mine for certain periods. I could also add some commentary to this. And I could do this commentary one of 2 ways. I could either just type it in and say, or I could click an attachment, and if I have a certain org chart that I want to upload or a Word document that's got some more details, I can certainly upload that. And if I click Save, when my manager is actually looking at the commentary, if he looks at the commentary closely, he'll be able to see why, my numbers are so off. So from a collaboration standpoint, from a workflow standpoint, it essentially becomes a cinch to put your budgets together and consolidate them. Okay? All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my planning module. And what I'd like to show you is, different technique of setting up these plans, if you will, or these spreadsheets. Because a lot of financial analysts that we actually talk to prefer working in Excel, right? And so I want to show you a few examples of when you do set these up in Excel, how easy it is, because you can essentially use Excel as your front end, and you can basically read and write to the TM1 cube. So I'm going to open up an Excel report that we have, and it's got it's set up where it's already connected to the TM1 cube here. So if we open this up, let's just check we're connected to the cube. And we are. So just to give you a quick preview here again, at this point I have my org, my channel, I'm looking at what my unit sold will be, and this is sort of the budget that I'm expecting. And so essentially I'm budgeting, but I'm actually budgeting through or via my Excel spreadsheet. So something similar we're doing, except this is going through Excel. I have some channel detail, some margin numbers, some assumptions on, that I'm carrying out, and all of these are talking back to the cube. And if you, in fact, select a cell, you'll be able to see that looks like it's a formula, right? That's looking at 2012 budget, and it looks complex, but it really is very easy and simple to set up. And within a few weeks, you'll at best you'll be up with several cubes actually. So just another way of read right into a cube. You can upload data right from Excel into TM1. You can edit this to pick dimensions that you've already built on that side. And then, again, your data spreading, your sandboxing, and then your developer mode where you're trying to actually build a new dimension can all be done from the confines of Excel, where most analysts actually feel really comfortable working with the data. For those of you that are not very, are not swinging for the fence as far as Excel is concerned, I suppose you could also just use the views that come from, within the TM1. So if I open this revenue view, which is similar to the Excel setup we were seeing a second ago, the hierarchies are already set up. Remember that's the key here in DI, is we always set up our hierarchy, so we go down to the lowest level. And here then, for example, if I were to update a number, let's say for the cartridges, let's make that 500. Hit enter. Notice the year didn't change, but I'm just going to recalculate this, and then the year number should automatically adjust. And it's actually going to take that number and move it all the way up through my, through all my levels, all the way up to my totals. Okay. So the other thing I'd like to add, and very quickly here, because I know we're running out of time, is a lot of people ask us, so yeah, you have TM1, you have BI, do they actually fit together? And the answer is absolutely yes. So, once you have your budgets in TM1 and you're doing your forecasting through all your scenarios, you can bring in actuals into TM1 as well. So it's just not restricted to, budgeting your numbers. Because ideally, what's the point of a budget and forecast if you can't compare them to your actual costs, right? So you absolutely can bring them into TM1, okay? And then the net result of that is your TM1 cubes then become sources of data that you can actually report on, right? And that is extremely powerful. So to see your budgets, and across that is great, but then when you can actually gain some insight by building some visualizations against them is even better. So, to sort of come full circle here, I'm going to run a report from a TM1 cube, and we're calling this sort of scenario analysis. And it's going to run connected to a TM1 cube at the back end. You'll find that, the power then becomes even more from gaining insights into your data. Because now, not only your budgeting and forecasting, but you can actually compare that to your actuals, right, if you wanted to. Then build reports, and these reports can get distributed or consumed as dashboards as well. So it is IBM Cognos Express is the best in taking all the utilities that it has in its belt, and then putting them under one roof, because they can all talk to each other and communicate with each other. So you're moving really away from those silos of data that most companies find themselves in. Jesse, that's all I have. I'm going to hand it back to you.
All right, thank you, Vidur. Before we go to questions, I'm just going to do a quick recap. And again, anyone who has questions, please use the chat window, and we'll respond to those momentarily. All right, on the reporting and business intelligence side, as Vidur demonstrated a little while ago, Cognos Express allows your organization to report on your various data sources in consistent fashion while ensuring there's one version of the truth. It empowers your end users to create their own visualizations and reports that they can then collaborate with others on. This reduces overall burden on the IT. Mobile capabilities such as the native iPad app and Android apps or Safari support allow connected and disconnected users to access BI. On the planning and budgeting side, Cognos Express promotes a driver-based best practice planning approach that will expedite your budgeting and planning process. It enables end users to model scenarios to support key decision-making, as Vidur showed with the sandboxing capabilities a little while ago. It ultimately reduces risk while expediting your financial process. This allows your financial analysts to spend their time analyzing rather than just collecting, consolidating, and reconciling data, which is what they're likely doing today if you have Excel-driven processes. When it comes to implementing, think big. Think about that big picture. Have a vision for the information-driven business culture that ties insight to action in all areas of your company. Then take a modular approach, an incremental approach to implementing. Start small with the capabilities you need now and grow your BI and planning solution over time to meet your goals. By starting small and delivering immediate value, you can size a project to your budget, realize benefits quickly, and greatly reduce risk.